The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, Simul TV, and iHeartRadio. If you'd like to check us out on any of the social media sites, one simple word gets you to each and every one of them, X-Zone Radio TV. And to find out about the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. My first guest tonight, X-Zone Nation, is Rick Wagner, and he is originally from Buffalo, New York, not that very far from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. But something happened to Rick when he was 6 years old. Joining me now is Rick Wagner. Rick, first of all, welcome to the X-Zone, and what happened to you at age 6?
Thank you very much, Rob. Pleasure meeting you. Growing up in Buffalo, I was starting to see things. The very first example that I mentioned in my book was that there was a white figure crouching down at the foot of my bed. And at 6 to about, 7, 8 years old, it was just terrifying me. And I was frozen in fear, not knowing why this thing was trying to pounce and get to me. The message I was getting was to reach out across the hallway into the adjoining room where my grandmother was. Although my brother's sleeping in the same bed with me, I was trying to reach out to grandmother who would save me. I never understood what that connection was. About a year later, my mom was flipping through a photo album, came across an image of a man with the white hair, white pajamas, and a white bed crouching down. And I said, "Who's that?" And she said, "That's her dad." I said, "No, that's the guy that was at the foot of my bed all those years trying to get me." She said, "No, that's my father. He had arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis for the last 30 years of his life and was not able to stand up."
Oh, my gosh.
And I felt like such an idiot. I'm like, well, here I'm terrified. And it was my grandfather trying to get a message to my grandmother saying, "I'm okay. It's okay over here." But the only way he could manifest himself was how he was in life, was crouching down at the end of the bed. So that was the beginning of the lessons that the things that I was seeing were not there to terrify me, but were probably just messages for somebody else, not even me.
What kind of messages have you been able to give to people over the years of using your very special gift?
One of the things I mentioned in the book is I had a near-death experience, which was a motorcycle accident. I was paralyzed from my neck down, and I was saved by an image of my grandmother taking the gym bag behind me and putting it in front of me. We didn't have to have helmets on back then at that time. I was released from Cedar-Sinai Hospital the next day. I should have been dead. I should have fractured my spine severed my spine, fractured my skull. Should have been internal injuries. There was nothing, not even blood, no open wounds. And I started to look at, okay, maybe there's something else here. And that's when the messages got stronger. What I do is, when I have clients, I am, as an empath, able to sense the energies or entities around them. And they do have an effect on us on a daily basis. I say that the more the earth is being populated, the more ghosts and spirits we have around us and energies around us all the time. And just to be aware of those first. Take a look at what's happening there first before going to a doctor and getting your medication. The pain that we get through our electrical centers, such as our head, neck, shoulders, or spine, can be a loved one, a family member, reaching out and just saying, hey, I'm here, I'm here. And people, this happens again and again and again, and I've been doing this work over 10 years, and people would go to get MRIs and CAT scans and physical therapy and x-rays and trying to get rid of whatever pain it was. And I said, no, that's your grandmother or that's your grandfather. They just want you to know that they're there. They go, why does it hurt? I go, they don't know that they're giving you pain. So all I do is have them take a step back. And instantly that pain dissipates. So we are electric, energetic beings. They are energetic beings. And just in that proximity has an effect on us.
Looking at
a lot of the messages, when you were talking messages, it's if something is attached to us, and spirits have a tendency to get lost, and they have emotions, and they have loneliness and despair, and if we're around that, that's where a lot of that emotion comes from. People tell me all the time they've moved into an apartment or a house. They're really depressed. They don't know why. Why am I so depressed? And I said, well, let's get rid of that energy. Let's have the spirit move on to where it's supposed to be instead of hanging on you.
But why do these spirits hang around, Rick? Why don't they just take off? Why do they stick around?
There is something about sudden transitions, whether it was a drug overdose, a suicide, an accident, and they're all of a sudden a spirit. Especially with suicide. They don't know they're dead yet.
How do we know that?
How do we know what?
How do we know what the spirits are thinking? How do we know that if somebody commits suicide, dang, they don't know they're dead?
That's my job. That's what I do. I sense the spirit there, and I have an empathetic communication with the spirit to find out, what are you doing?
Okay.
Why are you bothering this human? Why aren't you where you're supposed to be? How did you get lost? And my whole thing is I don't send, it's an old way of looking at spirituality, of sending them into the light. The problem with that is there are millions of stars out there. There's millions of lights. We each have our own light, and they look at you like, well, which light am I supposed to go to? I believe this is a learning planet, and we came to this planet with our family. So I reconnect these spirits with their family where they're supposed to be. And there's always a confirmation through me of joy and happiness that is where they're going, and they're comfortable there.
How much of this spiritual work is just somebody going to see somebody like yourself and hearing what they want to hear? How much of this is a placebo effect compared to how much of this is real?
I love that question. I went to school, Syracuse University, for mechanical aerospace engineering.
Right.
So it took me so long to say, what am I seeing? Why am I feeling this?
Right.
What is going on? And it's kind of this thing. I teach my clients how to communicate with their guides. We all have spirit guides. And the more you open that door for communication, the more they show you. So I was kind of a guinea pig. They were showing me things. They're showing me. I have never been depressed a day in my life, and all of a sudden something's attached to me. I'm in severe pain, and the only way out is to walk in front of a bus. I'm like, why? They'll justify everything. They'll make it very, very clear. And I just said, no, that's too expensive. I don't want to do that. That will cost me my entire life. No. So I then, in that example, went back to my apartment and said, who is this? This was a spirit. I get information. His name was Anthony. He got terribly lost. He couldn't connect with anything over there. He didn't know where he was going. He's looking for some kind of a connection. He saw that I was able to connect with him. He connected to me and said, "Oh, you should come over here on my side and keep me company." I said, "No, I can't do that. I'm going to connect you with your family." I connected him with his dad. Once that was gone, my physical pain was gone, the depression was gone, and it was a huge information bolt for me of what this can do. So the clients that come to me, Rob, have been through years and years and years of depression. I had one woman, 66 years old, every day depressed. She said she got more out of a 2-hour session with me than 40 years of therapy. The last text she gave me, she said, "For the first time in my life, I'm happy." Is it a placebo? Energies do attract. If you're in a library, you know what the energy's there. If you're in a rage party, you know the energy there. If you're very stressed at work, if you're in customer service, for example, and people are dumping on you all day long, you get home, how do you get rid of that?
Rick, you and I are going to have to take a commercial break. Please stand by. XZonation Rick Wagner is our special guest this hour. His website is myhauntedreality.com. That's www.myhauntedreality.com. Don't forget, XZonation, you can go to www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com and read or download the latest edition of the X Chronicles newspaper with our compliments, 92 full pages of color. Some great stories in there, and we also have stories this month in there from our new publication, the New Age Chronicles. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is Rick Wagner. His website is myhauntedreality.com. Rick, why do you think the spirits picked you or the guides picked you to do the work that you're doing?
I think there is a inherited ability. My grandmother was very empathetic, and I know my mom was. Growing up, it was always, "Oh, be quiet. What are the neighbors going to think?" Or you're in church, "Oh my God, what's the priest going to think?" Quiet. You're always concerned about what other people might think. They're very overfeeling and super sensitive, and I think that sensitivity is coming up in a lot of people today. What's happening is, as these spirits are lost, they're looking for people that humans that are going to get them. They're going to understand them and feel them around them, and those are mostly empathetic people. So those are the ones that are getting this information. I think my guides knew this, and they keep showing me things, and I'm mind-blowing stuff. I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'll just go for engineering. What am I supposed to do with this information? But it's in front of me. I see it. I experience it. I have people around me that are telling me these stories every day.
What do you hope to accomplish as a person who does the work that you do, a psychic medium?
It's transformational. I've had one of my latest clients was on every form of antidepressants that you can think of with all the side effects. He would be on airplanes, and he was describing how he wished the plane would crash. And he said, but he's not a depressed person. He just had these thoughts of suicide, and he didn't know where it was coming from. I discovered a nephew of his that had committed suicide that was hanging around him, that wanted him to go with him. I explained to him, this is not your fault. This is not your authentic voice. There's nothing wrong with you. This is something else. I am going to relocate this. And it is transformational. So people that are thinking of depression and suicide, in 1 or 2 sessions, it goes away.
But let me ask you
not their own authentic voice.
But let me ask you this. Somebody's going through therapy for a number of years. They're seeing a licensed psychologist or a psychiatrist. They're on medication. Isn't there some danger going to you, cutting off their medications or not, being weaned off
Nope,
of
we don't do that.
Pardon?
No, I don't do that. They call me. They've been calling me the ghost doctor on the radio shows, and I have to explain to people I am not a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm doing is I'm taking care of the energies and entities around you. Take care of the ghosts around you.
Yes, but what I'm saying is
you healed yourself.
Yeah, but Rick, what I'm saying is, you were telling me that that a lady who was going to a therapist. In fact, here, Denise R., I'm mesmerized by what you did for me. I got more out of a 2-hour session with you than 40 years of therapy. Isn't there a danger that a person who is undergoing 40 years of therapy, who all of a sudden decides not to go to therapy anymore, goes to a psychic medium who is not a trained psychologist, and isn't there a possibility that the psychic medium could miss some very important signs that could actually work against the client instead of for the client?
Yes, I think a psychic medium could do that because I don't know what they would be instructing them to do. I am not telling them to do anything. And they're coming to me after years of therapy. They're not on therapy anymore. They're not doing the therapy. They're not doing the antidepressants anymore. This is, I don't want to be the last resort, but I'm letting them see that maybe the things that you've been seeing and feeling your whole life and misinterpreting in fear hasn't been fear. Maybe these are actual messages for you. And I explain things to them. I give them homework assignments at night and in the morning to monitor themselves. I just don't do a session and then dump these people. I mean, I'm with them for a long time. I don't charge for all the follow-ups. And I'm supervising them and making sure that they're aware of the energies around them and the energies don't return, and that they are happy.
How do you keep an energy from? How do you keep a negative energy from returning to someone?
We have protections. I use selenite. There's a great crystal, and I use hematite, which is a great grounding stone.
Okay.
It makes them aware. We keep our feet on the ground. The more you get into the left side of your brain where that hamster wheel spins into the what if of fear and all of that, that is not where we want to be. We want to be grounded. We want to be aware of what's around us. We want to be aware of the energies around us. If you're in a stressful situation, you want to be aware of your thoughts. What are you thinking?
How does a spirit cause a depression? What is the physiology behind that? How does it work? What's the mechanics?
As they are in a realm that they're not familiar with, and they're not getting where they're supposed to be, and they have this whole feeling of loss and depression, their energy is projecting that same emotion. So if they say, oh, hey, Rob's got a lot of light. He seems like he, is on top of everything. Let's hang on him for a while. So you got this really dark, depressing energy hanging on you, Rob. But it's not going to affect you. But most of these stories, and if there is something consistent, if somebody wakes up, I have clients come in, they're going, I have no reason to be depressed. I woke up and all I'm thinking of is suicide now. Why is that? I've got 2 wives, I've got 2 kids and a wife, and I'm happy, but all I think about now is suicide. I go, it's something there. Let's clear that away.
But not all depression leads to suicide.
Oh, no. What they're doing is, because the spirit is lost, they're trying to get the human to come over and join them because they have a connection with this human. The spirit may not even, as I said, know that they're dead.
Right.
But they're hanging around going, hey, I like you. Come on over here. Well, do what you got to do, whatever it is. Just come on over here. So you're thinking of ways of killing yourself. Sometimes, again, like not even being depressed about it. So,
but if the spirit doesn't know that they're dead, why would they be telling a human to come over there and join them? That doesn't make sense.
That, you're right, it doesn't. In a situation where I had, let's say, a client in Florida,
Okay.
30 years of abusive relationship with her husband, and he committed suicide. And she was getting heart palpitations from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had her husband, I connected him with his mother, and he went away. The next couple mornings, empathetically, I pick up a lot of the stuff that's going on with the spirits around me. I'm starting getting heart palpitations. I thought, too much coffee in the morning or the vitamins, and I'm stopping all this. And after 2 days, I said, this isn't me. There's something else around here. I sat down and looked at what was around me, and it was her husband. And he said he wasn't ready to go with his mom. I said, why? He said, well, I'm not there yet. I said, yes, you are. So in some situations, they're just in a fog. They don't know where they are. He's not really projecting suicide, but he's not going to where he's supposed to be. I have them look at themselves. Can you see yourself? You don't have a body. I mean, and now if you look at yourself, there's nothing there. Your suicide attempt was a success. You have now graduated to the next light level. So that is where you need to be. So you kind of have to shock them into going where they're supposed to go. So no, not all of them are depressed.
Why does it take so
the
long?
ones that can't find a connection and try and try and try, and they get more and more depressed. It's like, well, I don't know, what is this? I can't do what I'm doing. And
So why does it take so long? Why does it take so long for these ghosts to realize that they're dead? Are they that dense that they don't realize that for years they're not eating, they're not going to the washroom, they're not changing their clothes? Come on.
Fog. You're looking at everything through the same eyes. Everything looks the same. You can feel things, but there's something not right. There's something not right. It's kind of like the Sixth Sense movie. That's like, I see it, but I'm not, what's not clicking here? It's strange. I don't want to say I wish I was over there where I could see it for myself, but this is what I'm getting energetically wise, empathetic wise from them with this loss. And you think, well, when you die, you get this tunnel of light and all these people. They're guiding you. It's like, no. The only people that get that are the ones that are told to come back. It's not your time yet. So when you transition quickly and boom, all of a sudden you're over there without a body, it's like, whoa, what happened here? You still have your memory. You can still see things. You have that perception. Something's not right. And they can't figure it out because they've never been there before, as far as they can remember.
It seems that there are more ghosts on this planet or spirits on this planet than there are people.
Wow. It does?
Oh, yeah, because...
That's a great... Well, because, if they're hanging out here, and I think...
Yeah.
Either unfinished business, unfinished conversation, a curiosity of, connection to family, and things that they just don't want to move on. Right. What I kind of have in my head is, again, this is a learning planet. There will always be light and dark, night and day, war and peace.
Sure.
We make our own choices here. We create our own heaven and hell here on Earth by our choices.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Rick Wagner's our guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. www.myhauntedreality.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, check out Simul TV at www.simultv.com. That is the only place on this planet where you can actually watch the X-Zone TV channel with the other 203 million subscribers that are there. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Rick Wagner is our guest this hour, Exonation, www.myhauntedreality.com. Rick, how do you know, or how do you contact the spirit of the person that has come to you because of their aches and their pains, or they need closure of some sort? How do you get connected with the right spirit on the other side?
Here's going back to this guy who knew he wasn't really depressed, but was going to kill himself. So he had been to therapists, and he had done the antidepressants and stuff. Nothing was working. He went to another professional who referred me to him. And as soon as they start talking, I can sense that there's something around them. I'll also find out that there's information. Like I said, it'll be sudden and unexpected that this transition just happened. They wake up one day and all of a sudden they're depressed and suicidal.
Right.
It's not their own authentic voice. It's something else. It's the same thing I do with addiction. Where is the voice of addiction coming from? Is it in your head, your throat, your chest, your stomach, or is it over your shoulder? Chances are it's over your shoulder. The same thing with this. It's like, I wasn't born this way. I don't know where this came from. And you start stepping away from that energy, step away from that voice. When you go back to what a placebo is, that is something I always thought about. It's that separation and going back to your own true self. But now with the energies around and you can see what it is, for example, this guy, Tim, had a definite entity around him. I gave him a name of Henry, and I saw that he was lonely and wanted some kind of connection. So I connected him with his mom, and as soon as he went, Tim wrote a review on the backside of my book about what happened and how that energy was transformational in that moment and hasn't really considered suicide since then, since that energy dissipated. I get an empathetic, kind of an energetic connection to the spirit around them. I don't see them with my eyes. I don't hear them with my ears, but I see it through energy. I can do the work over the phone. It's an energetic connection.
Is there a common thread between those on the other side and those on this side that come to see you?
I had a manifestation of I was lying in bed and I could see an umbilical cord of light connecting me and my mom, who attached to her mom, to her mom, to every spirit around this planet with or without a body. Spirits don't like to say that we're dead because they're not. We just lost our bodies. So in that term, is that God? Is that our God connection to everyone? If we're all connected, it's an instantaneous electronic connection. So I do think, we are all connected spiritually.
You mentioned the phrase electrical center. What is that?
Kind of an empathetic center that we have. So again, if you're not seeing with this entities or spirits with your eyes and you're not hearing them with your ears, you can feel them.
Okay.
Part of the homework I give my clients is, how are you feeling physically when you wake up in the morning? How do you feel emotionally? Your emotional center, that's your heart chakra, that's your center of your chest. That's where you can feel things around you and not the communication with your guides. And everybody says, well, I never see my guides. I never hear my guides. Well, they don't have mouths. You're not going to see them. It's a spirit thing. It's an empathetic connection to our empathetic center. And that's where the communication comes from.
But how does the spirit know who is their loved one if they don't have any eyes to see who these people are?
The energy and the history is preserved. They know who they were. They know where the family was. My question is, when they transitioned, where did that family connection get lost? And I have guides that will go and reconnect them with their family, and then that's, I get that feeling that is where they're supposed to be. How that was lost in the transition, I don't know. And there's also people will say, I'll get spirits that go, no, I hate my family. I don't want to go with them. I go, well, I'm doing an intervention then. You're supposed to be with your family, so we're just going to take you and put you where you're supposed to be, and then they'll decide where you're supposed to be from there.
Do the spirits grow in age, or do they stay the same age through eternity? Do they stay the same age as the age when they died or crossed over?
You're talking a timeline, and our time revolves around a planet and day and night, and that they don't have that. They have a linear timeline that can be entered and exited from very easily. There is no, because it's an energy, the energy doesn't age. It evolves through knowledge and kind of an enlightenment thing is what I'm getting. I'm not getting, the aging comes, we're thinking aging because we have this physical body that deteriorates after time, unfortunately. But no, they don't have that.
So is it safe to say that those on the other side, even though they are energy, do not adhere to the law of physics on this side?
Right.
But they're energy. How can they not?
In regards to aging or in regards to the laws of physics, meaning?
Well, we know, for example, if a child dies, or, does that child remain a child for the end until the end of whatever is the end? Or does that child, that spirit of the child, does it gain any knowledge? Does it gain experience? Or does it just stay the child that died?
The manifestation to the spirit and who's ever left behind it will be manifested as that child. The spirit itself isn't. There is a tribe, and I thought this was fascinating. They mourn birth because here is a 7-foot spiritual entity being squished down to the size of a baby and coming out of a woman's uterus, and then when the human dies, they celebrate because they lose that human carbon suitcase and are free to be a spiritual being once again.
But if the child's
brain was as the spirit, no, it's a child just as the manifestation and growing here on Earth. The spirit itself was not.
All right, but isn't it true that no matter what the size of the child is, that the energy itself is equal to the energy, or not the energy, but the atomic structure, the atomic makeup of another spirit of another age who passed?
So you're relating this to a different spirit when the child died?
Well, no. What I'm saying is, I'm just trying to understand when you were saying that the tribe that mourns the birth because a 7-foot spirit is pushed into a body of a child.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And I'm trying to understand. Well, if it's energy, why would it matter? I'm trying to understand why.
Yeah. It's more of a perception thing.
Oh, okay.
I think we're born with a spirit. We have a soul.
Right.
We mature, and when we lose our body, it is released again.
Would it be safe to say that the spirit that you communicate with, is actually the soul of the departed?
Yes.
Okay, so you deal on the soul plane. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, the soul and the spirit, I think, are one and the same.
Okay. I was just trying to understand because
I don't think there's two.
Mm-hmm. So how can people listening tonight, how can they communicate with their guides?
That's a great question because it goes back to the quality of sleep, and it's one of the things I start with when I start with my clients is, what are we taking to bed with us? What are the energies around us? What's preventing us from getting a good night's sleep?
Right.
Getting a good night's sleep is our foundation. We need to build our lives on a solid foundation, and that starts with sleep. And if we're taking stuff to bed with us to process, then we're not sleeping, we're processing. So the easiest way I have my clients is just to go through gratitude before you go to sleep, all the things that you did accomplish.
Right.
Most of the time, what's keeping us awake is all the stuff that we didn't accomplish, and the things I didn't get to, and then it's going to fester and keep us awake. We're control freaks. We can't delegate it to another human. They're not going to do it right. They're not going to do it the way I want it done, so I have them delegate to their guides. Here,
all right. I have to
they're up there. They're not doing anything. Let them work on that, and you sleep.
All right, I've got to take my final break for this hour. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, Rick Wagner is our guest. His website is myhauntedreality.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this upcoming commercial break as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. www.myhauntedreality.com is our guest website. His name is Rick Wagner. And Rick, something else that you mentioned that I'd like to get to better understand is, what is spiritual dust?
As we move things around, and I was doing a clearing on a house, and I was relocating some of the spirits there, but there was still stuff happening in the house, and they were having a hard time understanding things don't happen instantaneously. It's not like I have a magic wand and I go, beat you over the head with it, and poof, everything's perfect. We're talking about shifting energies, and again, rebuilding a foundation. So as the energy changes, I advise, keeping the energy clear and making sure that none of it has either fallen back or you brought in other energies to replace the energies that were there. Spiritual dust is what I was doing a clearing on a girl whose boyfriend's dead sister was on her, and she could feel the energy of his dead sister on her. She became attached to this girlfriend and liked having the proximity of a spirit around her. She thought it was cool. So I said, no, it's interfering with your human experience. It's also interfering with your relationship with your boyfriend, so I'm going to have to relocate her. There was an incredible amount of sadness that the spirit did go. 2 days later, I go out to make a cup of coffee, and I am doubled over, and I'm crying hysterically, and there's tears running down my face, and I can't even see my mug in front of me. I'm like, what is this? Why am I crying? I was deep and sad. So I had to take a minute and say, okay, who's here? What's going on? So this was that spirit coming back. This is that spiritual dust.
Right.
It was a confirmation saying, yes, I understand I'm supposed to be where I am, so they'll come back and manifest as they presented themselves to me the first time. And I'm like, well, can't you just send me an email? Put me through this stuff. So I sent her on her way, and I said, fine. So this does happen a lot. Things kind of come back, and it's not fully cleared yet, and that's spiritual dust that you got to watch out for.
Does one's electromagnetic field attract or maintain spirits around them?
Wow. Does one's own magnetic field?
Electromagnetic field, yeah. Does...
That's brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. That is absolutely one way of looking at it. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. I always look at as what they're seeing is light, like another spiritual light that they're attracted to. But energy attracts and repels. So, yeah, if there's an energetic connection, magnetic connection, boom. Absolutely. I like that term. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please feel free to use it. Why are we as a society fascinated with the dark or evil side of things?
I just got goosebumps all over when you said that, because that is a very, very popular question. It's one
I usually give women goosebumps. You're the first guy I've ever given goosebumps to. So.
Really?
Yeah.
It was a thought, maybe. But the book has a kind of a scary cover, and people look and think, "Oh, I don't want to read that ghost stories." I go, but the whole point is getting you out of the fear of the spirit world, so you can communicate with it. Our default emotion in any situation is fear. That's our self-preservation. A door slams. What was that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know what that was. You know, and we're so programmed through the horror stories. Anytime anything happens, you know, that's unexplained. That it's trying to kill me. It's trying to get to me. One of my favorite stories is I went to a client's home who had broken up out of a relationship. He wanted the energy cleared out, but he said, "There's something in my space, and I need an exorcism." He says, everyone that comes into my apartment senses there's something here. We need an exorcism. I'm like, well, I don't really do that. I'll have a conversation with it and see what it's doing there, but I'm not going to come in and splash holy water all over the place and say, "Get out." So I did the energy clearing and was sitting there at the table and talking, and I said, well, you know, there's this wonderful, sweet woman next to you with white hair and these cat-eye glasses, and so she's manifesting to me, but there's a heart connection to you, and I don't see an evil entity in her at all, and her name is Agnes. He goes, "Oh my God, that's my grandmother." I suppose you don't want to do an exorcism on Granny, so we're going to keep her here, and if you do want her to go away at some point, call me, but otherwise, you know, you're fine here. She's watching over you folks, so leave her alone.
So what was causing the negative feeling that everyone was getting when they entered this guy's apartment? I mean, besides the thousands of pictures of the girlfriend he still had on the wall.
But they felt something. They felt something. And when we can't explain it, what do? We're afraid of it. I don't know what that is. That's creepy. I hear that all the time. That's creepy. And I go, don't even use that word. This is really cool. You're sharing an experience. You're opening yourself up spiritually to another whole world, and they're showing you things. They're not doing it to kill you. They're not trying to kill you. They're not trying to freak you out. They're not trying to scare you. They're trying to educate you. There is stuff around us all the time. Pay attention.
So what should people? What would you suggest, or what would you say are the first 3 steps that someone should take when trying to communicate with their guide, or to find out who that is in their space that is giving them that feeling that they're not alone?
Our guides are here also to protect us, and they're going to guide us on a daily basis. I talk to mine like 24/7. Like I talk to you, I talk to them. You know, they're just really, really there. I do have that thing where before you go to bed, you delegate everything to them and show gratitude. They're really big on gratitude. So anytime you ask for something, say thank you. When you wake up in the morning, see how you feel. See if any of your questions were answered. If you're trying to make a decision about something, let your guides do that. Your guides will be your communication sources. Is there anything else around me that I should be aware of? Let them know that. The higher we can raise our frequency and the lower they can come down with their frequency, there is a form of communication. It'll be an empathetic communication. You'll feel it. It's your intuition. Your intuition is going to say, oh, I really feel like I want to do that now instead. Well, that's them telling you to do that. The other communication I use is called an MBO, most benevolent outcome. We don't ask selfishly, say, hey, I want to win the lottery, give me $1 million. No, that's not going to happen either. Most benevolent outcome, how about a situation that benefits everybody involved? You create examples. If you're going somewhere and, you know, traffic's going to be bad, you're never going to find a parking space, this is going to be a big hassle. Just say, okay, here, most benevolent for me doing this whole thing. I promise you, the freeway will kind of open up. People will be getting out of your lane. And when you get to where you're supposed to go, miraculously, there's a parking space right in front. So there's these little signs. I'm not talking, winning $1 million. Maybe that's not in your chart. That's not what your lesson is supposed to be. But in the little ways that they can help out. And I sit in my car all the time and go, you guys are awesome. Look what they can do. So by having that communication, we open up an awareness to the energies and other entities around us. Hopefully alleviating fear.
What is the difference then between a guide and an angel, a guardian angel?
Configuration and thought manifestation. A spirit guide are the guides that are with us all the time.
Okay.
In the Bible, they are guardian angels. I don't want to say problem, but the manifestation of a guardian angel is a halo with these big white things sticking off of their shoulders that have feathers on them. So that's kind of a human Bible manifestation. I don't see that. Mm-hmm. I see spirit guides. They're just forms. We want to humanize them and give them human characteristics. They don't have a body. They don't have faces. They will manifest so we can understand what it is, but the actual spirit itself does not have that. So I think that is the one and the same. It's just how you're going to, if you're biblical, Bible raised, you can call it the guardian angel or your spirit guide.
Rick, I've got about a minute left with you. What are your final thoughts for the X Zone Nation listening to you around the world tonight?
What if you actually started listening to your guides? How different would your life be? And be aware of the energies and possible entities around us and watch how it will affect your life. If you know where they're coming from, and return anxiety to its owner, return unwanted emotions to their owners. 90% of the stuff in our head belongs to somebody else. Let's start thinking about ourselves and having that clarity and awareness for our health and our well-being and our joy of life.
Rick, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Pleasure talking to you. I'd say continued success, but I think you've already got that in the bag. So just keep up the work and keep helping people, but be careful. I believe that there's a fine line that should be drawn when it comes to coming between a person and the mental or physical help that they truly need by a licensed and fully trained member of the medical profession, and what a psychic medium, or in this case, a person who reads electromagnetic field or energies. Two different breed of people, two different qualifications. And listeners, always do your due diligence and find out what is really behind the curtain, if you know what I mean. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.